You ever wonder why Bruce Bochy is gray on top? Well, he is 70, but also it's these one-run games the Rangers have played so far this season. They finally won another one last night. We break it down next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Three-game winning streak, which Rangers haven't had in quite a while, going all the way back to last month. They did it the hard way last night, beating the lowly Rockies 2-1. It was a nail-biter. Got hairy at the end, had injuries, but a W is a W, and the Rangers will take it. I'm Jeff Wilson. Welcome into the DLS Sports Studios in downtown Dallas. The Prophets over there at the controls, and here's John Radigan back in Michigan. Different siblings' house today, but same quality audio and signal strength. So, John, how are things in Michigan today?
Chilly and rainy today, Jeff, but thank God my siblings pay for good internet service. So, yeah, the signal has remained strong. I hate to say it feels like it's more strong than it is when I'm at my house in Waxahachie. So I may need to work on my internet service, but it's great. It's great to be back with you. And it's been really fun keeping up with. Of course, I got to see, the last 3 games of the road trip here, and now to see through the magic of the internet last night's game. And the Prophet nailed it, that 3-game win streak, pretty significant given what this team has been going through struggles-wise, really, since that 8-2 start to the season. Things just hadn't gone particularly well. But it feels like this is the next point at which things can start to go in the right direction. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I really think the Rangers could have done whatever they wanted last night amid the draft lottery news. I think they could have gotten. I think they could have gotten away with a murder, maybe. But it was a tough one last night. We talked not all show, but a lot of the show yesterday about how dreadful the Rockies are, and they are offensively. The Rockies are terrible. The way I was thinking about it, John, is the Rangers are performing like the Rockies offensively. They're the same club offensively with the same results, but the Rangers have about, 125 more million on the payroll, maybe even higher than that. So but the Rockies do not have Wyatt Langford. He came up big there in the 6th. They're getting no hit, for crying out loud, by Chase Dollander, who is a great college pitcher. And I don't know if Wyatt was asked this after the game or not, but I'm willing to bet that he faced Dollander there when Dollander was at Tennessee and Wyatt was in Florida. So maybe there's a little familiarity there, but big home run, 2-run homer. It snapped the Rockies' no-hit bid, their shutout bid, put them in a deficit, and ultimately was all the Rangers needed. But again, you point this out in our rundown. Was this the 14th one-run game the Rangers have played?
I redid the math. I think it's 13.
Okay.
And I did change it in the description last minute, but it's 13, and that got them to 7-6, Jeff, in those one-run games. And amazingly, they started 6-0.
Yeah.
They won their first 6 one-run games. Obviously, that means, if you know the record, they lost their next 6.
Yeah.
And then they won last night. So that's a lot. When you say 13 out of 42, that's a lot of one-run games in that duration.
Yeah, and the that's 25% of their games. They've played 42 games. They are back to 500. For people who believe that that's a an important barrier, and it probably is, and a chance to get over it. But yeah, early on, and it started early on. The two games in Cincinnati were 1-0 victories, for instance. So things were going right for the Rangers, getting just enough offense, getting great work from the rotation, the bullpen. The last two have held up, right? It's that offense that hasn't, and we thought Sunday might have been Saturday and Sunday might have been the turning point, and maybe they still are, because again, any pitcher can slow down any offense, whether it's a guy who had entered with a 7.71 ERA or not. But it just seemed like the at bats regressed a little bit last night. Evan Carter started the game, first career game as a leadoff hitter, started it with a walk. Figure, okay, Dolander's he's gonna be wild, and it seemed like he was missing the zone. Then he got dialed in, and that's been what's been happening with this Rangers offense. They see these starters and kind of work them a little bit, and then the next thing you know, they're swinging at the first and second pitches, making quick outs. The starter's still there in the sixth and the seventh, even. So, it just seemed like a step backwards from the at bat quality.
Yeah, a couple of things that crossed my mind along those lines, Jeff. One, and I meant to mention this yesterday, but when Bud Black got fired the other day, and I went and looked at some of the post game and the post firing reaction, and it was pretty amazing. I mean, a lot of times a manager gets fired and everybody says the right thing, but deep inside the players are going, "Thank God that guy's out of here." And I really got the feeling from just the tone and the verbiage from the guys they interviewed in the clubhouse. They feel so bad for Buddy. Oh, Buddy deserved better. We really let Buddy down, And I think that I think there was a genuine feeling of that, and it occurred to me yesterday as I'm looking at that game, going, they're doing this for Bud Black. They're trying to say, hey, man, we're sorry, buddy. We should have done this for that type of thing. They had that in them. They're major league players. So, and I don't know if that's true, but it occurred to me that they have they played as well last night as they played, and I don't know how long.
Sure.
And that's obviously to their credit as professionals and excuse me, and to their credit as players. And then, but with regard to what you were saying about the, if you will, the way the pitcher gets settled in, it's a question for Brett Boone and everybody too. Is that a function of the pitcher getting settled in, or a function of the Rangers letting the pitcher get settled in? And there's that fine line. They have to make sure, just as he's trying to make the at bat uncomfortable for them, they have to make sure he's uncomfortable out there. And I think you're right. When you see a guy settled in like that, I mean, it's hard with a guy like Skubal. Obviously, first of all, he's got great stuff. Second of all, he works so fast.
Yeah.
He's kind of the Mark Burley of his office, but he works so quickly. But last night, that's a guy they should have. It just feels to me, and to your point, they should have worked him harder.
Yeah, and Kyle Freeman, who grew up in Denver and went to high school there, and kind of a fun story if you're a Rockies fan. He's pitching tonight. He's better on the road by 2 runs, I think, on the ERA. And he, after his last start, I guess he exhibited some frustration with how the performance was going and how the team was trending. And Bud Black was a pitcher, when he played. Yep. And so I'm sure that the pitchers, especially to your point, feel kind of lousy about it. So I buy into your theory that there might be a little extra motivation for the Rockies, at least short term. They also want to get this new guy a win, get that one out of the way. With the Rangers, facing a left-hander. The lineup will probably look a lot like it did last night without Corey Seager, which we'll get to in a minute, Josh Smith, which we'll get to in a minute. I'd imagine Jock Peterson will be on the bench. So you're going to see a heavy right-handed lineup to face Freeland. So maybe that'll have an effect. But again, it's about doing playing the game. That's what Bruce Bochy said yesterday. It's what Warren Washington said, doing the game asks you to do. I I think sometimes the game asks you not to be so aggressive, to make a pitcher throw you 2 strikes in a row. And there were times when Dolander couldn't do that. Yeah, and frankly, and so we'll see what happens tonight, of course. But and in hitters' defense, they are told, and it is true, that sometimes the best pitch you're going to get is that first pitch. Jake Berger said it yesterday, and they don't really deem a quality at bat by how many pitches they see. It's by how hard the contact is when they put the ball in play. And Jake Berger said, if it's the first pitch and I hit it hard, I'm happy with my at bat. And there's something to that. There's a lot of merit to that, but I don't know if necessarily would have been the right game plan against a guy making his 6th career start with an ERA above 7. Whatever, you can second guess them however you want. The guy Dolander is a top prospect, throws it hard, and much, much better things are on the horizon for him. But this was his best career start, and I think the Rangers might have helped him a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I want to get to lots more about Jake Berger, which I know we will coming up. But when Boch was asked about this team's propensity to play the one-run game, and relatively speaking, its success in them, I mean, it's awesome when you're 6-0 in one-run games, and then it sucks when you're 6-6, and then it's better when you're 7-6. But Boch's thing on that was simply this: that's a credit to our pitching. Right?
Yeah.
Every pitch becomes so much more important, especially for those bullpen guys at the end of the game in a one-run game. And of course, we'll get to Luke Jackson here in a minute too. But every pitch was so important in that stretch of not only this game but all those other games. And in a way, those guys have performed in every single one of those, because they remained one-run games, right?
Yeah.
If they didn't perform even in the losses, they wouldn't have stayed one-run games. The opponent would have scored a lot more runs. But the bullpen has really come through in these cases. It's just been a remarkably consistent bullpen. We've talked a lot about how great the starters have been, but once again, a remarkably consistent bullpen to keep these things close, and now, to give the Rangers a winning record in those.
Yeah, and you often hear in regards to a starting pitcher when he's maybe pulled out in the 5th inning at only like 80 pitches. If he's had a lot of base runners, they say, well, those were high stress innings, a lot of traffic. He had to throw a lot of dial it up a little bit, if you will. And where's a guy down? Well, I mean, this whole pitching staff, the whole season's been high stress. It really has been.
Yeah.
Now you have veteran guys like DeGrom and Evaldi who have gone through spells in their careers where they don't get run support and they're able to block that stuff out. Seems like Molly has been able to do that as well. But it's tough. When you're coming in every night with the game on the line and there's no margin for error, even when you make one bad pitch or there's an error behind you can't overcome, the game is in the balance. You may lose the game, or at least it's tied, and the other team is in it to its high leverage arms. So it's hard to do. The 2015 team, it was the 2016 team.
Yeah.
It was so good in the one-run games. And the concern at that point when they reached the playoffs with the best record in the American League was that the run differential wasn't telling the real story of how good the Rangers were, and maybe that turned out to be the case because Toronto whipped their butts in 3 games. But it's hard, man. It is hard, and there's no guarantees, and because relievers, they can go through slumps too. Now to last night's game, you bring in Robert Garcia with a runner at second and 1 out in the 7th. That's a heck of a spot right there.
Yes,
he gets out of it. Chris Martin, makes a great catch to ensure
how about that?
a 1-2-3 8th. But then Luke Jackson gets hit. First pitch, second pitch, line drive off the arm, has to leave the game, and so then you're putting Jacob Webb into a situation he hasn't been into in a while. And as one of our chatters said, Mista said, Josh Young made the double play that was so clutch. So it's a win. It was fraught with terror and fright around every corner, I guess. But hey, it's a win. It's a win. So we'll get more into the injuries and Jake Berger's return and when Kyle Higashioka might be back. And we'll do so right after this on the Rangers, DLS Rangers podcast. It's sleeper time once again. And again, I need to be their paid spokesman. I'm glad that the money is going to the company, but I think they need to throw me a little something on the side. I'd take some free money, put into my sleeper account. I need to talk to somebody because I talk this thing up every day. My favorite app, it's Sleeper, has been in the fantasy game for a long time, but now they're doing fantasy daily picks. I missed my baseball bet yesterday by one strikeout. Thanks a lot, Yusei Kikuchi. But I hit my basketball bet, so I ended up making a little money yesterday. It's just what I said. Will Yusei Kikuchi have more or less than 4.5 strikeouts? Well, he had 4, so I missed that one. But I also got a couple others. Julius Randle. Will Julius Randle have more than 33.5 combined points and rebounds? I nailed that one. So anyway, download the Sleeper app. Use the code DLS Rangers, and you can get up to $100 match on your first deposit.
Yeah, and with some of the money you make on Sleeper, and really, they should give you some money, Jeff, because until you cash out, which you pretty much never intend to do, that's just funny money. But
Yeah.
but until you cash out, if you cash out, it takes 350 of your winnings, and you would know then you'd pile it all up, and you'd know how much Empire Today is willing to give you, because they'll knock $350 off your order at Empire Today, and your order at Empire Today is going to be for arguably the best flooring products out there. It doesn't matter which product you want, they've got it. They've got a better quality of that product. They were the originators, and everybody else who's doing this type of thing right now is basically copying what Empire Today does, and they don't do it nearly as well, and they don't do it nearly as quick. Empire Today will get started the very next day on a big project like that, and those can be disruptive, and you'd like that disruption in your home to be as short as it can possibly be. So go to EmpireToday.com and use that code DLLS at EmpireToday.com. You get that $350 off your new floors.
Yeah, sorry about the Coke can popping open there. I got a look from Elijah. I don't think he's very happy with that. But anyway,
hey, the audio's working.
I tell you what's not happy is all these injuries the Rangers seem to be dealing with right now.
Right.
We saw that Corey Seager was not in the lineup. I tweeted out yesterday that I think the move, which I thought might happen before first pitch last night, but I think will happen today, is Corey Seager will go on the injured list. Kyle Higashioka will then be activated, and then Tucker Barnhart will stay on the roster. I think there are a couple reasons for that. The third catcher, it does give the Rangers some flexibility. Bruce Bochy talked about that yesterday. When Higashioka and Heim are in the lineup at the same time, which it looks like they're going to definitely be today with a left-hander going. It allows Bruce to pinch run for one of them late in the game because he knows that he has Barnhart ready to come in and catch or DH or whatever it is. And it's a clean move. No 40-man things involved because Barnhart would have to be designated for assignment, which would then have a domino effect on the Rangers' catching depth in the minor leagues. So it's that's what I think the move is gonna be. And the reason I think it's almost set in stone is because Josh Smith, we come to find out, is dealing with some back tightness, some lower back tightness. So you can't send Ezekiel Duran down because you need an extra infielder while Seager and Smith are ailing. I guess it's conceivable that the Rangers could try to call up Jonathan Ornelas as more infield insurance if Smith is not able to go or needs the IL himself. Worst case scenario there, your three best hitters, I guess, on the injured list at the same time. let's not go that far yet. It didn't sound like the Rangers were willing to go there either. But there are some issues on the infield, and maybe we'll have to get used to these one-run, low-scoring games. Even
Boy,
more
no
used
kidding.
to them, I guess.
Yeah, it's really troubling, and I mentioned, and sometimes I wonder. You and I have been close to this thing for such a long time, and I said on the show yesterday and mentioned to you privately as well that I thought, it felt like they were going to have to use the injured list for Seager. So then why didn't they make that move yesterday? And
Yeah,
like you said, you thought it was going to happen prior to the game, right before first pitch, and now we still think it'll happen today. But I'd love to know, what the thought process is. I imagine they'll probably post date it or make it retroactive to Sunday anyway. So
right.
it's very interesting to know, and would be fun to find out what the thought process is on that. But yeah, Seager's almost a sure thing on there. Hasn't Josh dealt with this slight back issue earlier in the year? I think he did.
It seemed like it was more like a hip thing.
Okay,
Last year, about June, he dealt with a, a glute, a buttocks issue,
that's right. That's right.
during a road trip to Dodger Stadium, and he took, I don't think, 3 or 4 days off. He did not hit the injured list though. It is a different situation now though, because the Rangers are short on infielders. Um, but I don't think it's an IL yet. Kevin Pillar is on the IL with lower back stiffness. He's about to come off. He took some batting practice yesterday and said everything's going well. But Kevin Pillar is a center fielder, not a shortstop. So
Right.
it's time to. This is a kind of a scary time, I guess. You're already not scoring runs, and Corey Seager looks almost certain for the injured list, and then Josh Smith is I guess now a candidate. Um, and again, the delay on the move. Maybe they're giving him one more day. He got examined. He was getting treatment yesterday. And they go through those little things like strength tests and whatnot to get a final read on the injury. Maybe they wanted to give him another day. I'm not sure. Maybe the Smith thing played into it. Maybe you don't. Maybe you give them both an extra day and see who's better today. I'm not sure, but Bruce Bochy seemed a little concerned about it because Smith was in the original lineup, and Boch said he didn't find out till late that Smith needed some downtime. So one of the other injury that popped up, again, we mentioned it early on, was the ninth inning when Jackson took it was
Yeah.
111 mile per hour
Yes.
line
Yeah.
drive off his arm. He did not stay in the game. If you guys have short memories not short memories. If you guys remember back at spring training, it's been about 2 months when John Gray against the Rockies, not the same batter, but I think that batter was next in the lineup. John Gray took a line drive at 106 miles per hour off his wrist, and it broke it. The initial X-rays were negative on Jackson, which is a good thing. Apparently, there was immediate swelling, as you might expect. There's going to be a heck of a bruise in there. So I wonder if Luke Jackson is headed to the injured list today, or if they give that thing another day to see if the swelling can calm down. The problem being, though, that Garcia pitched. He's pitched back-to-back days, I believe. Chris Martin had a clean inning, but again has been used a lot because of all these close games. So who would you go to with a lead in the late innings today? I'm not saying the answer is Cole Winn, who's at AAA, but Cole Winn hasn't allowed a run this year in 23 and a third innings, I think it is. 13 games, scoreless appearances, earned runs. He's allowed 2 unearned runs. He's walked too many guys, probably 11 in 23 innings. That's might be a concern for the Rangers, but out of the options who are on the 40-man, because again the 40-man is now full with Sam Haggerty up, I think that's probably the likely move if they need a guy would be Cole Winn.
Yeah, and going all the way back to the point about whether or not Smitty is a candidate now for the injured list. It reminds of just Sunday when we asked Boats when you see Corey Seager's not in the lineup Sunday. He says, "Oh yeah, the hamstring. He tweaked the hamstring again. Oh, is he a candidate for the injured list?" And Boats is like, "Well, anytime a guy misses a game, yeah, I guess he's a candidate for the injured list." So suddenly that vaults Smitty, yeah, to your point, Jeff, into that candidacy. Now, the one thing you think about with regard to the two injuries, relatively speaking, is that hamstring, you know, it debilitates you. You
Right.
can't do it. You need it for everything. And if you play on it or try to play through it, unless you're Adrian Beltre, you make it worse, right?
Yeah.
That lower back pain, and I don't know for a fact that playing wouldn't make it worse, but most times that's not something that's going to get worse if you play. So it's a matter of, can you play through it, right? Slightly different thought processes there, and very easy for me to say. You've
Yeah.
had the back issues, so you know more than me just how I know from other people that back thing can be very debilitating too.
Yeah. I never realized how much your back and your core are are what's the word, triggered, I guess, um, until I heard it. I mean, everything you do, your back and your core are involved,
Yeah,
and more so than you realize. Um, and yeah, it's not fun. And that's just me being a sports writer having to sit
yeah,
around. It's not
yeah.
me having to swing a bat in which my back twists and violently, or racing over for a ground ball and diving onto the ground, or trying to score from first to home on a double in the gap. So yeah, I have ample sympathy for the back woes. I don't know that it'll be an IL again, but these are lingering things. It's not like you know there's no Mr. Miyagi out there with his magic clap and rub and everything. This thing's gonna hang around for a while. So I think you knock out the hamstring issue. I think Corey probably needs to go on the injured list. Again, you can backdate it, so maybe it's only 8 days, but if it's not 100% at that point, give him a few more days. Like Mark McLemore says, you think you're ready, give it
Five
5 more days. So
Yep,
we'll see what
yep.
happens there. A couple positive injury updates, I guess you could say, to answer Scatback's question. And I think Mista asked about sports. Okay. Kumar Rocker threw off a mound
Yeah.
yesterday. He actually said he started throwing off a mound last week, which is a little bit ahead of the timeline that Bruce Bochy had given us. So that's good news. Next step will either be another bullpen session or live batting practice. I would suspect it would be a bullpen, just because the Rangers are going to be very cautious with him, considering he came off of Tommy John last season. Doesn't have a ton of innings under his belt. So I would guess, and plus the Rangers just tend to do this anyway. They err on the side of caution. So
Hmm.
I would suspect that maybe a bullpen session Wednesday. So tomorrow, he threw yesterday, maybe 2 days off Thursday. Maybe they could sneak in a live batting practice before they hit the road Saturday or Sunday, and he could go on rehab next week. I think it'll be 2 rehab starts though, before
Hmm.
before they go ahead and activate him. So that puts you at basically June 1-ish, maybe a little early June. That road trip to Tampa, Washington, and Minnesota perhaps is
Hmm.
when he returns, although he's pitched a lot better at home. So anyway, food for thought there. Cody Bradford will throw a bullpen Thursday. He is not yet throwing breaking balls, but he's
Yeah.
getting on a mound, so that's good. John Gray has been throwing out to 60 feet. Josh Sports continues to throw. They're all July. The worst case scenario for Sports, he says, is August 1st. He thinks he'll beat that, but they're still a few months away. But when they get back, as we talked about on a show last week, there's suddenly a lot of pitching depth for the Rangers.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And just one thought from something you mentioned, I meant to interject. Boats was asked the other day too if when Pilar's ready, will he need a rehab assignment? And Boat said, "Well, I haven't talked to him yet, but yes, he will." Yeah,
Okay.
they feel like, yeah, they feel like, despite his veteran status, there will probably be a rehab assignment in Kevin Pilar's near future, actually.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, there's somebody had mentioned that we sure do a lot of Protex roofing. We sure do have a lot of advertising segments. We only have three, and the second one's coming
Yeah.
up right after this.
Do I start this one?
Well, I mean, it's Mando.
Oh,
You've actually used it.
I sure do. And so I have I have a bunch of nephews here who range in age from 20 to nearly 40. And old Uncle John has dropped a little knowledge on these young men with the word grundle. None of them knew it. None of them knew it.
Yeah,
The old
it's
guys dropping knowledge and
nice.
also using the product on said grundle, not my
Oh,
nephews, not my nephews, but mine. And
oh,
it's fantastic. Yeah, it's a fantastic product. And a couple of the nephews are with my sister. I said, I don't really want to say this in front of your mom. She's like, oh, go ahead. So anyway, uh, yeah, I love it. And I love dropping knowledge. And if my nephews now know what the grundle is. If you don't yet, reach out to them. Reach out to them, or just look it up on Urban Dictionary. But Mando makes everything, including your grundle, smell really good.
yeah. I brought it up last week. It's taint.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know where
yeah.
when the transformation happened, but that's what it is. All right. LinkedIn Jobs. If you have a small business, you don't have the time or the luxury to go around and sift through all the job applications that you might get. So when you're hiring, you need somebody who can help do that for you, and that's where LinkedIn Jobs comes into play. LinkedIn.com/Rangers. You can post your job for free. LinkedIn, everybody knows what it is. Most people probably have a LinkedIn account. You can go look for jobs, network, whatever you want to do. But if you're a hirer and a small business owner like John and Kathy Radigan, you certainly can go ahead and get help that you need. Again, this is how you do it. LinkedIn.com/Rangers, and you can do it for free.
It's a great plan. It's a great idea. Something we're going to need to do and will be doing. So yeah, I would encourage everybody to avail themselves to LinkedIn Jobs. I am very curious because I know, Jeff, that you had a chance to talk to Jake Berger yesterday, and I just from watching the interview of which you were a part and reading some of the quotes and everything, I'm so happy for the guy that he not only that he had success at the minor league level in the short stint that we figured it would be, but that he approached it. He did that because his approach was just perfect.
Yeah, yeah, and the reason for the delay to him arriving to AAA, they have 72 hours to report. He moved his family back to Tennessee for the time being while he was down in with Round Rock, and they were playing in the West Texas town of El Paso. So he went down there, and he said he knew his movement at the plate wasn't quite right, so he was able to get back to work on that. And the interesting thing he said was he had to change his philosophy. He said that in the past he's been susceptible to this, and it happened again. That he goes to the plate worrying about what the pitcher is going to do to him, rather than what he's going to do to the pitcher. So he just wanted to clear his mind, get back to the point where he could recognize the pitches, maybe instead of trying to guess, maybe being a little tentative up there. And he hit the ball hard a couple of times last night. He hit 2 home runs for Round Rock. Now the ball flies in El Paso, but you still have to at least hit it hard to get it out. And he did that. He batted .391. His OPS was over 1,100. It was only 23 at bats, but within those at bats, the Rangers feel like, and Jake feels like, he's back to being the player he was the last 2 years. Last year, he was the Miami Marlins Player of the Year. So
Yeah.
he can play, he can hit, and the Rangers need him to be that player. So he comes up. Blaine Krim goes down. Fortunately, it was not a DFA. He's on the 40 man, so it was an option. So hopefully Blaine is back to crushing it in Round Rock beginning tonight, and can be an option for the major league team again. But yeah, Berger, as you'd expect, he has a lot of good perspective on this, and he's been through some things in his career. He was delayed getting to the majors through a series of Achilles issues. He's played third base and second base and first base. He's tried to find a home, and maybe he felt some pressure too. He was basically the replacement for, really pushed Nate Lowe out the door. Really, that trade kind of a key, a centerpiece to the off season, if you will. A guy who they thought would add power at first base, who would help them hit right-handers and fastballs better, and it just wasn't happening. He was chasing too much, and so it's a reset. Hit the reset button, and that's the word the Rangers were using. And so he feels like it was a good opportunity for him to go back and full steam ahead from here, not really look back, but refocus and go forward. So good to hear from him.
It was, and I loved, some of the perspective he brought, and to the point that you mentioned about, going up there. He said, "I just have to go up there and be Jake Berger in the box. I just have to be me in the box." And we've talked about this so many times, but the depth of the sort of the and the importance of the confidence that you take to the plate, or conversely to the mound, right? I mean, you must be confident enough in yourself to be able to get up there and say, I don't care what this pitcher does. He should care what Jake Berger is about to do to him. And certainly he was able to quickly make that transition into that mindset, that thought process at the minor league level. Like you say, I mean, he sent the center fielder, I think it was, sprawling on one of those hard hit balls, and that was Alf Dolander. And then he got the single, the hit he got, one of the three, I guess, that the Rangers got last night, was off one of the relief pitchers. But in any event, it was nice. And he even, I heard him, some of the comments he made after were like, you know what? Sometimes when you see that ball on the outfield grass, it just builds your confidence even more. So
100%.
you got a chance to see that. Yeah, you got a chance to see that.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how his interactions are with Brett Boone, because Brett Boone,
yes,
technically is Berger's fourth hitting coach in about the last 4 months of baseball, because the Marlins changed hitting coaches last season. So that's two. And then he comes in with Donnie Ecker and now Brett Boone. Now, Justin Veely would be the common thread here between Donnie and Brett. So maybe that helps ease the transition. But I think that, the easy attack mindset will feed into or mesh well with what we hear Brett Boone is doing. I did have a chance to talk to him yesterday. A couple quick thoughts. He's short. I was a little surprised at how short he is. I mean, he's not like 5'1". He's taller than Jose Altuve, but a little surprised. He's still jacked. I mean, his arms are like pipes. I do not want to mess with Brett Boone, so I hope he doesn't hear me talking about his height. But then he when the Rangers were doing infield work, he was working at second base.
I was going to say,
he was in there turning double plays and taking grounders, and so he's still getting to know the fellas. That's kind of what he said. I'm still trying to get to know these guys and what makes them tick. Bruce Bochy kind of said, I don't know that Brett Boone's had much of an effect. It's probably too early to put anything on him, good or bad, but the at-bats Boch noticed had been better. So maybe that is something that has was an immediate Boone thing. Strip it down, simplify it, get out of your heads, and just go out there and hit. Um, Nice guy though. He seemed intrigued that John Moore and I did podcasts. So maybe we can sneak him on sometime when he's not doing his own. Though I guess he's going to have some guest hosts on every once in a while. But he did do an episode yesterday that I haven't caught up with. But
Yeah, he'll probably have better luck than we have getting Rangers players on, won't he?
yeah, I think he might have a little
Yeah.
pull on that. But it'll be it's going to be fun. He's Donnie was very personable and very
Yes.
friendly and could talk to him just about anything, not just baseball, anything. And I think Brett Boone's going to be the same way. And I guess he's like talking how last Sunday he was down on the beach walking with his dog, and 24 hours later he's the Rangers hitting coach. So still maybe his head's spinning a little bit, but it looks like he fit right in and is comfortable with where he is and ready to help out the offense.
That business of taking ground balls, I thought was significant in that, to your point, I'm still trying to get to know the fellas. And what Mac Lamore told us from his days with Brett as a player was that's who Brett Boone was then. He said, Brett was the master of finding a weakness in a pitcher's arsenal, a pitcher's delivery, a pitcher's game, and then he'd exploit that weakness. And then he said, and even if he couldn't, even if his skills or his abilities or whatever couldn't, he'd give it to somebody else who he knew would have a chance to exploit that weakness. And so I think he relates to guys as a coach through almost through a player, you know what I'm saying? So to get out there and get down in the dirt with him and field ground balls with him is, I think, just so comfortable with him, and it seems consistent with the approach that he took as a quote unquote player coach. And I don't think Mac ever used those words, but it sure was sort of what he described. Not every player, can do that or does do that, right, to help their teammates that much. And we rave about how Nathan Eovaldi does that on the pitching side. Well, that's what Brett Boone was as a hitter, and an MVP candidate and one of the best players in the game at the time. And he's now, I think, just sort of saying, this is how I'm comfortable doing this, to just relate to these guys on the level. And as we all know, Jeff, that is credibility in a clubhouse.
Well, and who is the Rangers' second baseman? Marcus Semien, who arguably is struggling more than any Rangers hitter. Marcus Semien. So maybe there's a little something there too. I did tell Brett that we had Mark McLemore on to talk about him and get to know what we could expect. And Brett was like, "Oh, he's one of my favorite people. I love Mark McLemore." He said he got a text from Mac early last week about being hired. They haven't run into each other yet, but Mac is going to be the alumni on Saturday in the Alumni Alley autograph.
Nice.
Saturday, so there's an opportunity for them to get together. But it was pretty interesting, and Mac didn't mention this side of it, but Brett, when he came in to the Mariners as a free agent, Mac was the second baseman. And so Brett said, he thought there might be some tension between, because Brett was coming in and basically displacing Mac. But they'd known each other previously through Brett's father, and Mac is the one who gave him the nickname. And so they ended up, hitting it off, of course, being great teammates. And to this day, Brett still really respects and loves Mark McLemore. So that was kind of fun to hear. And it's crazy, that those teams won. Those Mariner teams were really good. So winning always helps. But, it kind of tells you the kind of teammate that Mac was, a guy who could play everywhere, not unlike Josh Smith, honestly.
Right.
A guy who can get around and is very handy with the glove and with the bat, too. You might have heard the bell. Oh, go ahead, John.
Oh, no, I didn't hear the bell. I was going to say that's what Mac became at the end of his career, though.
Yeah.
Was he became Josh Smith, and so he has ultimate respect for anybody that can do that.
Yeah. So the bell indicates our last group is up. Sorry, Protex Roofing. Hey, Protex Roofing, you might look good in one of these ad reads. Just saying.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we're going to clean it up here in just a minute here on the DLS Rangers podcast. All right, John, you're merched up.
Yeah, I'm merching. So if you want a shirt like this, hang on. My knees. There you go. Hello, wind column. We could put a ×3 over here, right? Hello, wind column
That's right.
×3. Oh, you've got one too. Good.
Yeah.
Hello, wind column ×3. They've won 3 in a row, but I like to wear this when it's appropriate, and so I also like to make sure I wear it when Jeff and I both like to make sure we wear our shirts when the other one isn't, so we don't look like we're twins. And so anyway, get one of these, would you please? And by the way, is 75% sale still on?
Yeah, the sale is still raging, up to 75% off.
75% off some of these shirts. You have got to get some. In fact, I think I'm going to, a couple of mine that have been washed 100 times now, might stand to be replaced. So I'll do that. And there's a lot of new ones too. You've got to go check out some of the ones we have for the Stars playoff run. I don't know that those will all be on sale, but some of them will. A lot of the Ranger shirts, Jeff told you yesterday, are on sale for 30, 40, 50% off. So it's a great deal. It's a great shirt. I would love you to get yourself one. Represent DLLS for us. Go on out there, wear one of these. You'll get noticed as we have in them. And you go to store.allcitynetwork.com to get yourself any of the merchandise we have, including shot glasses and beer steins and flags for your car and that type of thing. So store.allcitynetwork.com will let you become a proud owner of our All City merchandise.
And that is where you're going to go to get your free shirt after you become a DLLS diehard. $79.99 a year. Well worth it. The cheapest deal going for a major outlet like us in this area or any area really. $6.50 a month to get unlimited access to all of our stories, not just Rangers, Stars, Cowboys, and the Mavericks, who are going to draft Cooper Flagg. Maybe they'll trade the pick. What do you think? They shouldn't. But Cooper Flagg, future superstar, future Dallas Mav. Read all about what the improbable that happened last night. Crazy how that worked out. But you get 20% off. You get the free shirt. So go to alldls.com/join to get started.
Yes. So with quickly as a tangent, with regard to the Mavs getting that #1 pick. And I remember I had an opportunity when I was at Channel 5 to fly on the team, well, not even the team plane. Mr. Carter, Don Carter still owned the team. And it was Don and Linda and me and my photographer, Kerry Smith, that flew up to Secaucus, New Jersey, which is where then anyway, I don't know if they still do, that's where they held the draft lottery. So we went to the draft lottery with him, and you go, well, of course, there were pilots as well. No, Don flew the plane.
Oh, my.
And, yeah, and then, here's a billionaire. They couldn't have been more embarrassed. On the way home, the heat stopped working in the plane. We're at like 30,000 feet. I got the worst cold of my life. And the Mavs, I think they had they should have been like 7th in the draft lottery, and I think they ended up 12th or something like that. So it didn't turn out to be a great trip. This is the best it's ever happened for them. I can't imagine that Nico Harrison, I got to believe he's learned his lesson, right? He's not going to do anything dumb with this one. But to your point, that I think I saw you put this on Twitter, Jeff, that this thing is rigged. And
I didn't put that on Twitter. No.
No. Did you?
I do not think it's rigged.
You don't?
No, I don't.
Okay, well.
And my wife, who wakes up every morning to watching TikTok, she was watching a TikTok about this guy who was saying, "Oh, it's all rigged,"
Yeah.
Oh yeah, trade to the Lakers. David Stern, or not David Stern, Adam Silver said, "Yeah, go ahead and trade him to the Lakers, and we'll take care of you on the back end with the draft." I mean, I like a good conspiracy theory,
Right.
and everybody still wonders how the Knicks got Patrick Ewing.
Right.
So I get it, but sometimes the sun just shines on an old dog's ass, and every once in a while.
Yes, and I was going to tell the people who do believe it's rigged, if it's rigged, then you can stop worrying about the Mavs moving. Because if the league went through the effort to get the Mavs the number 1 pick, they ain't letting them move. That's not happening. So, and that's not happening anyway. But there you go. I just hope they do right and make the right choice and don't trade it. I love these things. Let's go ahead and trade the number 1 pick for Bronny James. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I don't even know who you'd trade him for. I mean, obviously you'd trade down and get a pile of picks for future years, because the Mavs, I think, are pick deficient. I guess they got one for the Luka trade, but what player has the upside? I just don't see it, and especially at the price. And then Cooper Flagg, he's going to be a free agent at what, 22? I mean, this is 24. This is a guy who's just going to he could play until he's 36 and spend 18 years with the club. That's pretty amazing, and he's great. I mean, I loved watching him with Duke. Can do everything.
Yeah.
Pass.
Yeah. 100%.
Shoot. Rebound. Yeah. Great defensive player. I think he had the best defensive rating in college basketball, and he was only 18. He skipped his senior year of high school, so he was a young 18. So there's this. I'm excited about that. I'm neither here nor there on the Mavs, but I'm a little more here now because I'm a big Cooper Flagg guy. Yeah.
Sure. 100%. Yeah. So really cool. I was so excited. My son-in-law texted me that as soon as it happened. I just couldn't believe it. Because again, a 1.8 chance. I mean, I think that year that we went on the plane, the Mavericks had a really good 15 or 17% chance, and they went backwards. And I think most years they go backwards or stay even. But boy, did they go up this year. So very cool. So to our batting cleanup segment, and I guess that cleans up a little bit of the NBA, but batting cleanup, man, did you see the Oswaldo Cabrera injury last night?
I did not, and I don't know that I want to see it.
No, it is one of those. I mean, it's not quite as bad as Joe Theismann, where you see his leg just dangling there, but it is bad. He's one of those where you're just trying to avoid a catcher's tag, and so you kind of run. He didn't slide. He ran out around the back of the plate and then tried to plant his foot and come back to it with his hand, and you could just see that ankle give way beneath him, and it was instant pain. To his great credit, it's still a bang-bang play. To his great credit, he got down on the ground and touched the base. But he was in so much pain, Jeff, he didn't even know he'd done that. And in fact, once they got him on the stretcher and everything, they interviewed Aaron Judge after the game, and he said the last thing, Cabrera, Cabby, they call him, last thing Cabby said to me was, hey, Cappy, Captain, hey, Cappy, did I score? He said, yeah, you scored. So he was in such a state of shock and pain from, snapping that ankle that he didn't even realize, kind of probably blacked out. But he got his hand down on that plate. But yeah, that's a tough one, man. And when it's you see the stretcher and the gurney and the ambulance come right on the field. That's always difficult to watch.
Yeah. I used to. I don't know if I've really ever had the stomach for watching those things. I remember Theismann because I was I don't know 10 or whatever when it happened.
Yeah.
And how I remember how Lawrence Taylor reacted. He was just terrified, and who knows what was running through his system at the time. But he did react as if he had done something terrible, and it's I can still see it in my head. It's disgusting, but I try to stay away from those now, especially having broken something before. and looked down and seen my arm and been like, man, that is not right. It's just,
Yeah.
it's just not it just hasn't been the same.
No, no, and I don't blame you. I generally, and I've always been a fan in the TV game. In the TV game, when we do replays, we generally wouldn't like just keep showing that over and over. And in some cases, we might only show it either in real time or maybe one replay until we realize, oh my gosh, that looks so bad, and stop showing the replay.
Yeah.
And I know fans nowadays, everybody I think can go back on their TV and see it, but fans used to get frustrated with us, like show it again, and we're just like, we can't. I mean, it hurts our gut too. And if you
Right.
missed it, sorry, go catch the highlights or something. But and so I almost never go back and look at those things either, because I don't want to see people in pain, and that was horrible pain. So
Very bad.
yeah. Anyway, Alex Bregman got to Detroit yesterday. Jeff, the Red Sox followed the Rangers into Comerica Park and was greeted with just lusty booing from the Tigers fans. And as a guy who grew up here and is actually sitting here right now, you have to understand the mentality of Detroit. Like, you burned us, man. You got us so excited that a big name, and I heard guys on their radio, their ticket actually today or yesterday talking about none of the big names want to come here. Nobody wants to come here. Alex Bregman wanted to come here and then he didn't, and they're all mad. They're just mad at him. Like, don't tease us, Alex Bregman. And I did like even the opposing manager, the Tigers manager, but his former manager AJ Hinch said, Alex Bregman's been booed in every stadium in the country. I assure you, the lusty booing was not a problem for him. And he did say, just by way of letting I wasn't trying to diss Detroit, I think were his exact words. I wasn't dissing Detroit. I was, basically taking the better. And they're frustrated because their total package was bigger, but annual average income was better with the Red Sox. Plus, he got those 2 outs, the option for the 2 out years. So anyway, that happened last night in Detroit. Quite a welcome for Alex Bregman, Jeff.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. He was booed throughout the opening series this year. At Globe Life Field, from all those Astros days and the cheating and his kind of aloof attitude toward it. Initially, after the verdict came out and all the evidence came out, so he deserves it. All
right, and he does. And we've got to get to this. And we only got 2 minutes left. So we got to get to the most important story of the day, Jeff. And I wish you'd set it up for us.
It was definitely the biggest story last night. I had to leave Globe Life Field because my daughter was playing in the Mansfield Youth Softball Championship game, 10U Championship game. The Smashing Sweethearts against the Sweet Cleats, the hated Sweet Cleats, longtime rivals. And the Smashing Sweethearts had gone through, I think they were the 2 seed entering the tournament, and they won their first 2 games to reach the championship game, and they pulled it out last night, 8-2 victory. It really stung the Sweet Cleats, made us all very, very happy. There's my daughter, Molly. She's the first baseman. She is a picking machine over there. The number 3 hitter, heady player. She made a huge, really a scoop. She stretched and scooped this ball from shortstop that proved to be a real critical out. So we're very happy for the Smashing Sweethearts. They've been together a long time. Some of them all the way going back to T-ball. And this one might be a little bittersweet. The team might be breaking up here after this year because I think one of the coaches and her daughter might be moving to another state. There's talk about maybe going a little more competitive. So a bittersweet moment, but initially they were just thrilled. So So happy for Molly. She really wanted to win that championship.
Well,
If I had missed the game, if I had stayed to watch the 2-1 game at Globe Life Field, I don't think she'd be talking to me today.
No, nor should she. And were those rings? They got championship rings.
Yeah,
already?
They get championship rings. She was expecting a medal, but I think medals replace trophies, which have then been replaced by rings. Those
are fantastic.
Yeah, they're big, and that's all youth baseball is now. They want rings. Well, now Molly got her a ring, and we're all very excited and happy for the Smashing Sweethearts.
Yeah, and you got to get that thing insured, Jeff, with all the diamonds and stuff in
Oh,
it.
yeah. Mansfield baseball spares no expense, let me tell you.
That's just so fantastic. And as we know, of course, it's always so much fun to win. But what that game and what that team has taught her with regard to teamwork and picking up for each other and celebrating with each other, those kinds of life lessons are such a great sidebar of what our kids get from sports.
Yeah, and they won with defense, and Bruce Bochy's big pitching and defense guy. So it'll hopefully carry her all the way to something professional, or at least a college scholarship. So all right, that ought to do it for this edition of the Rangers, the DLS Rangers podcast. We're back tomorrow with a post-game show tomorrow, 1:00 Thursday, and then we'll get you on the post-game again Sunday. So until then, John Radigan, Elijah the Prophet Smith, I'm Jeff Wilson, and we will see you guys mañana.
We all silly like the mayor.